Michael Beale is running out of friends at Ibrox. The majority of Rangers fans no longer want him to be the manager of their club. However, there is one, and he goes by the name of former Ibrox striker Kenny Miller. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. Rangers with a disaster yesterday, losing to Aberdeen by 3-1, and all that did was turn up the pressure, turn up the cooker here. The heat is on Michael Beale, and he is about to explode. He cannot handle it. It's 7 points now behind Celtic after 7 games. Is this the worst start to a season for Rangers? It might be. I never recall Rangers being 7 points behind Celtic this early in a campaign. Even when they just got promoted from the Championship, I don't think they were 7 points behind after 7 games, and that is just not good enough. And to Michael Beale's credit, the past couple of weeks he has been getting the results, but the problem with that is he's been relying on the results too much, because even though he's been getting W's with results, he's been getting L's with performances. And if you are relying on winning games, playing poorly by the odd goal to keep your job, the problem is, sooner or later, you're not going to keep doing that. You're going to slip up. You're going to lose. And that's what happened to Rangers yesterday at Ibrox. It was another bad performance, but this time they didn't sneak past Aberdeen like they sneaked past Motherwell. They got found out. Aberdeen won by 3-1. And now the Rangers fans have had enough. However, one Rangers fan that hasn't had enough, I guess he wants more punishment. I guess he wants to see more shit football at Ibrox, and that is Kenny Miller. He believes that Michael Beale should be given a little bit longer in charge of Rangers. This is what Kenny Miller had to say on Sports Sound regarding Rangers' 3-1 defeat to Aberdeen and whether or not Michael Beale should remain as the manager. Quote, "It's a long way back, even at this stage, but I don't think it's time up at this moment. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of the fans that need to be turned. There are questions to be answered, and it is just the job of the board to analyse without emotion, to make calm, sensible decisions that are right for the future of the club. There will be discussions as we speak. That won't stop. If they decide now is not the time for pulling triggers and maybe making knee-jerk reactions." End of quote. So Kenny Miller basically saying that he believes it will be a knee-jerk reaction. That's what he's insinuating if Rangers do pull the trigger here on Michael Beale. I mean, would it be a knee-jerk reaction? We've seen managers sacked for less. I mean, Gio Van Bronckhorst, he got sacked after, and he got to a European final. Gio made a European final, and how much time did that buy him? I mean, not a lot. Now, albeit, yeah, there were some poor results there in Europe, but, I mean, let's be real. If this Rangers team were in Europe, if this Rangers team under Michael Beale had the Champions League group that Rangers had last year, I'm sure they'd be getting tanked as well. So, and they even got tanked off PSV, who aren't a great team. Anyway, Kenny Miller then went on to speak about recruitment, and he mentioned the fact that he believes Celtic will drop more points than usual. And I agree with Kenny Miller. I also said this at the start of the season, but the problem for me is I think Rangers will also drop more points. So I think Celtic will drop more points than usual, but I also think so will Rangers, so they're not going to be able to catch Celtic, if that makes sense. But Kenny Miller seems to think there will be an opening for Rangers to try and make up this 7-point gap, which I don't agree with. I just think both Rangers and Celtic will finish with lower points tallies than they have in previous seasons gone by. But this is what Miller said about recruitment. Quote, "The fans need to see improvements, particularly with some of the new signings, because there are real questions over whether these guys are going to be able to cut it. It's not just been this summer though. I think the previous 2 summers have been a bit uninspiring as well. As a Rangers manager, you need to be winning, putting silverware in the cabinet, and that's something that could happen in the next couple of months if they get players back and improve. The coming weeks are really important. I don't think there's too much room for error. I believe Celtic will drop more points than they usually do because they're not firing on all cylinders and they have their own injury problems. The difference at the moment is Celtic are getting the job done." End of quote. Alright, so I completely agree with Kenny Miller regarding the recruitment at the club. I think the past couple of seasons it has been really poor. How many players from the past 2 years are really good enough to break in to the Rangers starting 11 or even the Rangers first team squad? I'd say there's a few. Raskin, Cantwell, Suter, Butland, but there's been a lot of duds in there. And if you look at Michael Beale's signings, I think it's weird how his first two signings in January were really good. Cantwell and Raskin came in, had a big impact, were playing well, and I think Rangers fans got excited because they thought, well, if his first transfer window as Rangers manager, he only brought in two players, but he brought in two players that are performing really well, what is he going to do when he gets more windows under his belt? But unfortunately, he's not been able to have the same success, and some of the players that have come in this season, Dessers is fucking horrendous. Players in general, Cifuentes hasn't really done anything. Lammers has got about, 3 goals in the last 10 years in his stats. Danilo, it's not looked great for me. I think Sima looks terrible, but he has scored some pretty good goals, and that's kind of getting him off the hook a little bit. But overall, his play is not great, and it's just been really, really poor from a signings standpoint for Michael Beale. And, as for dropping points, I just don't see Rangers catching Celtic. I just don't see it happening. And I think Celtic will be pretty poor this season, but they ain't going to catch Celtic. They're just not. Celtic got a 7-point gap, and that gap will probably grow. Start of the season, I predicted Celtic to win the league by about 4 to 6 points. I thought it would be reasonably close. But, at this point, I can see it being double figures and beyond, to be honest. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Michael Beale plays St Mirren next in the league before the international break. Surely, if he doesn't win that, then he has gone. Kenny Miller can say that it's not time yet. He deserves a little bit more. But honestly, if they lose to St Mirren, if they make it 4 defeats in the opening 8 games, half of their games would be defeats. If that happens, there's no way Michael Beale can survive that. But who knows? Maybe a big defeat in Europe, and he might not even make the St Mirren game. So the next couple of matches are going to be crucial for Michael Beale. I think if he wins them both convincingly, if Rangers put on great performances and get 3-4 goal wins, then that will buy him time. Other than that, though, I think he could be in trouble. I think anything bar 2 wins and he's probably sacked. But even if he just sneaks past both games with 1-0 wins playing terrible, like Motherwell-like performances, I don't know if that's enough to keep him in a job. Would the Rangers board react? Normally the international break is a good time to do it. We've seen Hibs in the last international break. That's when they decided to appoint a new manager. They got rid of Lee Johnson just before that, and then that gave them the 2 weeks to try and bring someone in. It'll be a good chance here for Rangers if they want to bring someone in. So I think this will tell you, this next international break, I think if Rangers don't get rid of Beale, then they'll probably will keep him at least to around Christmas time. But if they're planning on getting rid of him, it probably will happen at the end of next week. Anyway, guys, that's it. Been Fog Football. Let me know your thoughts down below. Obviously, Kenny Miller, he's a professional. He's not going to come out and call for anyone to be sacked anyway. But he seems to be giving Michael Beale the benefit of the doubt here, and he's giving him a little bit longer in charge of the club, which is more than what most fans, I think, are willing to give Michael Beale, because most fans want him out. And we actually put a poll up for that, and then we'll react to that pretty soon. Anyway, guys, that's it. Catch you in the next one. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and until next time, peace.